Hmm. No one, no one is telling you this about the film. If this was an international film, many critics would actually be praising it to the core. Hi guys, this is Farhad and welcome back to my channel Popcorn Reviews. If you're new to this channel, then you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel, press that bell icon. You'll know when I come live with a video. Also, as a video ritual, remember to like and comment on the video. Liking and commenting helps fuel the YouTube algorithm. And today, the film that we are going to be discussing is the new Tamil film that was out called Retro, and it stars Suriya, Pooja Hegde, and it was directed by one of my favorite filmmakers, Karthik Subbaraj. Now, Karthik Subbaraj has such a unique voice which can actually be told through the genre that he aces. The genre here, in his filmography rather, is irony, the genre of irony. And you can see it in his filmography as well, whether it's his immediate previous release, Jigar Thanda Double X, that use the subtext of cinema as a tool or a revolutionary tool to down the people in power. Or in his film Mercury, you saw using silence as a subtext, almost like commentary, so to say, for workers who suffered at the hands of the government because the government was careless. Or you also see in his other film Mahan, wherein there is a character called Gandhi. Now the character of Gandhi is actually a bootlegger, and he becomes the biggest bootlegger in the. It's like an irony that you see in the subtext, and that is something that is very difficult to pull off. It's not an easy genre by any stretch of imagination. Here, specifically in Retro, the entire subtext with the irony that is there is prevalent throughout the film. It is almost genre shifting, and it actually makes for a incredibly unique movie watching experience. Now, if I have to come to the story and screenplay, one thing that you can draw a parallel with, yes, it is, by the way, a very niche kind of a film, because it is genre shifting, it is tonal shifting, and you need to keep pace with the film to understand the smaller nuances and the smaller subtext of the film. So there may be mild spoilers in this review, so viewers' discretion is advised. But if you would like to know the smaller nuances, just watch this video. I am going to be touching upon a few nuances that nobody is telling you in any of the videos that are there, or the reviews that are there rather. So here we go. So when it starts, the film starts with a young toddler, being found, and that toddler's name is Parival Kannan. Now, interestingly, the subtext starts from the name itself, the name of the character. Kannan is another name for Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna, that is there. And so his journey you can almost trace as a parallel to Lord Sri Krishna, where he's found and is almost adopted by his stepmother, In this case, it is Sandhya, the character which is played by Swastika. She adopts him much to the dismay of her husband, and as you go along in this journey, you understand that this is almost like a reimagination of the story of Lord Krishna. Initially, you also see a little conflict, which is almost presented like a graphic novel of what to expect further. Wherein a young Pari is fighting off goons in a train. That's again a graphic novel, so to say, which actually tells us about the subtext of his anger. Now, Pari, one thing to note is that he doesn't smile, and so automatically the opposite of smile that is there, he takes on violence as a virtue, particularly, after his mother expires, and all they wanted, his stepmother wanted, was to actually make him smile, which he doesn't, he can't, and that's, his trait. So the trait of Lord Sri Krishna, which actually you would see in the Mahabharata, the war of Kurukshetra, was the exact trait that is being tapped into this character, and that is a fascinating start. Now the subtext further changes, when he actually comes, to meet, when he encounters a character called Rukmini, a younger Rukmini. Now, again, the subtext lies in the name. Rukmini is the wife of Lord Krishna, Okay, so that is the subtext, but the characterization of Rukmini again becomes a fascinating concept. Why? Because Rukmini is someone who coaxes him to smile in his first meeting, first brush. That is the character that coaxes him to smile, says that you need to smile, and as you get along, you get to know that the character of Rukmani is the most non-violent person ever on the ideologies of Gautam Buddha, or Lord Buddha, as I would say. So these are contrasting mythological figures, like from Lord Krishna to Lord Buddha, with different ideologies. Imagine, one, is in the film stands for violence, the other for peace and harmony, and that is, almost like an opposites attract kind of a scenario that is being built up in the film. And there's also a little conflict that the character Pari faces with the stepfather's, brother-in-law. So in his case, the uncle. So it's almost like a reference to Kans Mama, from the Mahabharata again. So that is again a little subtext that is there. Again, it is presented like a Bruce Lee novel. It's almost like one of those homages, where it is placed like a graphic novel, so to say. Now, if we, go ahead, the tagline of the film has love or laughter, love and war. Each of these words have a subtext to it and a contrasting element to the three genres. And that, is represented perfectly, as the film progresses in each of it. If the first act is essentially of that of love, it is, by the way, represented in red also. So if it's, it has an angle of love to it also, which has a bit of a complex emotion with respect to the personality, which I'll keep it under wraps a little bit. But I need to talk about that 15-minute long one take sequence also. It's the flavor of the season, isn't it? We've seen it in Adolescence, we've seen it in the other Tamil film Veera Dhira Suran Part 2. Wonderfully, complicated sequences that are, presented so well. And here I would particularly am impressed because there's so much that happens in those 15 minutes in the first half. It's almost like the camera starts with a dance sequence that is there. The character, by the way, is Pari, who still doesn't smile, and he doesn't have to smile throughout that sequence, even in the dance sequence that is there. It starts with the dance sequence, goes up, sets the conflict between the father and the son, along with the main conflict of the film, transitions into a brawl, so to say, and ends with a bloodbath of sorts, a little bloodbath of sorts. This, while there's also a statue of the laughing Buddha, which is in the background, and it stands for peace. Again, the subtext or the irony is opposite of that. You see the theme of the film, it's irony, and it's opposite throughout. That theme remains constant. Now, as the film progresses, the genre also shifts. It almost goes from love to comedy, and that is again with a change in the setting, wherein the setting changes to Black Island. Now, Black Island, which again is referenced in the Andaman, it stands again has a dual subtext to it. One is that of Kalapani, that you may have already guessed. The second can also be reimagined as Sone Ki Lanka, or Lanka, Ceylon from Ramayana. Now, you would say that in Sri Krishna, he's not in Ramayana, but that is the beauty of it. There are two rich manuscripts of our culture, one the Mahabharata, one the Ramayana, and they are combined into a concept that can be reimagined as Lanka, again with a subtext that this is not Soniki Lanka, this is again, the other version, it's almost dark. And that is true when you actually get to know the prevalent dictators that, are ruling so to say, the island, and they are all indulgent in the games. There are a couple of homages also that are there, one to the Hunger Game, then to the Gladiator, then to the Mad Max Fury Road. All these films that we've already watched, there's a homage to it. Yes, I would buy that criticism a little, that, the events do get a little slow in the second hour. They do get a little stalled, I would say. I wouldn't say particularly slow, they get a little stalled and not with the same momentum, but that can happen because remember, this is the shifting genre that is there. The mood is changing, the tone is changing, the genre is changing, so this is bound to happen. And I think it was probably designed also to happen because it's almost showing a progress of the character Pari towards his destination. What is his destination? The destination is that of achieving, the personality of Lord Buddha. That is what is the progress. So that is bound to happen. That cannot be counted as a criticism, is what I wanted to say. Yes. So on the broad stroke side, in the second hour, it is almost like a fight between good versus evil and right versus wrong. All that subtexts are pretty evident. Even as the morality of the character suddenly switches, and there are some things that happen, followed by overpowering the dictator. Whatever that happens in the second hour. There's another wonderful line, the most powerful dictators are the most coward people, and I think that was the line that applies to so many countries who are under dictatorship, and I think that is something that also summarizes the film. There's also a concept in the second hour between religion and cult, and that is again a relevant commentary that is passed on, between what cult does versus what religion is almost designed to do. And I think that was a very interesting matchup that was there. Which is also represented in the fights. There's also a reference of the Christ that is crucified, symbolizing the weakest one. But again, there is an irony in it. Underlying irony is that even a bad person, and that is the irony that is again there, wonderfully again depicted. But what actually, made sense to me was the ending of the film. Now, many people will say the ending is, it's almost Jigar Thanda Double X, same setting. Actually, if you look closely, it is an antithesis of Jigar Thanda Double X at the end, because it doesn't end at all in the similar manner. I will not tell you how it ends, but it's almost like an allegory of laughter and joy winning over the negativity that is there. And I think that is the representation that actually formed the film, and this while also highlighting the journey of Pari from being that violent streak of a guy to someone who has an inner peace and a smile on his face. And that is the crux of the film. I absolutely loved the screenplay. It did something very unique, and I'll totally get the criticism that it is getting as well. It is designed to divide your opinion. It is an irony within an irony. If your opinion is divided, I think that is what probably was intended by the makers, because that again, in a way, can be counted as an irony of sorts. So, just my thinking, it may be totally wrong, but that's something that what the screenplay has to offer. Now, quickly coming to the technical aspects, the dialogues, the music, and the direction. I think the dialogues here are very profound. Although I did feel that, and by the way, the dialogues are well designed to at least shift the tone commendably. But at the same time, I feel that the comedy that is there, that really did not actually land to my liking. The Chaplin references were definitely there, but it didn't result in as much laughter. So I think that can be termed as a demerit for sure. I can buy that. Coming to the music, I think the music was pretty good, but the star of the show has to be Santosh Narayan for the beautiful background music that he composed here. He understood the assignment so well here, and he actually, designed a BGM that complements the story and heightens the drama at different places. Even the cinematography comprises of such beautiful shots, white shots that tell you a story like a subtext within a subtext again. The frames also tell you a kind of a story, not to mention the one take sequence that was commendable. The costume department also is almost vibrant. It almost pops up amongst the the frames that are there, the color palettes that are there, it pops up, and that is something that represents the era. So the era here is from the 60s to the 90s, perfectly represented through the costumes. Wonderful, wonderful job. The editing is also pretty good, it's pretty crisp, and it keeps pace with the shifting dynamics of the screenplay, and it makes for a wonderful, wonderful watch as well. It won't be wrong to say that this again is a cinephil's wet dream, as many people are pointing it out also. And much of the credit also has to be with the way it is edited, Remember that graphic novel sequence that I was telling you? A punch was almost taking you to preparing the audience to what is expected of it, almost like a graphic novel Bruce Lee representation. That was one reference, of the editing that was there. Director Karthik Subbaraj is a wonderful director, something who always tries to do something or the other unique, and that is something that completely holds your attention and isn't afraid to actually do something and create a unique voice which is not similar to something of the others. And that is something that really works in the film's favor, and the direction has to be superb here. Coming to the performances, I think the performances are spectacular as well. Some of the performances really are searing also, like Swastika is there, Remya Suresh is there, wonderful actor again. Nasser and Vidu, these two characters are designed to be over the top. Okay, they are designed to be over the top. In that part, they do a pretty solid job. George also is phenomenal in the film. He did a wonderful job, as the cunning, so to say, stepfather. All of them have a little bit of an arc, and that's wonderful. Pooja Hegde is such a sincere actor here. As you see, the glances that she gives, towards the character of Pari will actually melt your heart and almost take you into a nostalgic trip. It's almost like a whiff of nostalgia when you see the exchange that happens. The chemistry through the glances is absolutely heart melting. All the actors do well, but it is Suriya who actually is 100% committed to the role. Suriya, you'll never find a bad performance, if I have to just forget about Kangua, but otherwise Suriya always commits to the vision of the maker, and here also I think he did a phenomenal job, even in the comeback sequences that were there. Even when the proceedings were slightly on the lower side, it slightly dropped the intensity in the second hour particularly. His performance holds the film together, and I think that was again a phenomenal performance, so to say, that shoulders the film and makes it into a wonderful experience, a unique watching experience. So overall I felt that Retro is a wonderful film. It's, you can term it as a cinephil's wet dream, you can also term it as a subtext within a subtext, but it is an enjoyable and unique watching experience if you understand the subtext that it is referring to. If you don't get the subtext, you're not going to enjoy the film. There's no middle ground about the film. Either you will love it or you will not love it. I loved it personally. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it was something very different, and different in this case is also good for me. It's not it maybe some people may not have resonated with, which is perfectly fine. I totally understand why this film is getting a divided opinion, but for me it definitely worked. It's like almost like an anatomy of a smile, as I called it in my review. So it's an anatomy of a smile packaged in a cocktail of genres that also features a cinephil's wet dream. Is also a character arc which is deep dived into mythology. So much to understand and learn from this filmmaking and the style of writing that is there. Highly recommended Retro from my end. If you have watched the film, let me know your thoughts on what did you make of it in the comment section. I would love to know what are your thoughts, whether it worked, whether it did not work. Any comments are welcome. It's perfectly fine to have an opinion, and I will respect it too. Remember to like/dislike the video, whatever it means. Any engagement helps a small creator like me. Please do that. I mean, many people aren't doing that. Please do that. Also, you can share this video with your friends and family. Ask them to subscribe to the channel. Let's grow this Gigi family together. You can read my detailed review of Retro on my site, Popcorn Reviews with the double S, the link of which is in the description box below. Also, you can follow me on different social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd. I do not end up making a video on everything that I watch, but I do write a lot. All information is present on my site and on my social media handles. I'll see you again soon with another video. Till then, take care of yourselves and thank you so much for your love and support. Cheers.